You will start with a new piece of watercolor paper and you're going to tape it off just as you see here. The masking tape we are using is 1/2 inch wide. If you don't have masking tape that's 1/2 inch wide, you can either go buy some or you can cut down wider masking tape. You're going to make 12 boxes. Make sure you tape all around the sides as well. You'll need your painting supplies and your water. In the first box, we are doing a dry brush technique, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways you can do that. You have choices about what kind of image you want to paint. Before you start, I suggest practicing your dry brush just on a scrap of paper. I'm mixing up some blue because I'm going to make a little landscape. I don't need a ton of paint because it's just a small little landscape, and I'm getting the excess off of my brush. And you can see if I drag it across, it's picking up the texture of the paper. I can put more paint in my brush to get a slightly different effect. So there's less dry brush there. And it can change depending on the type of brush you're using as well. Go up and down and layer it. And I can also fan out the brush like this and do a dry brush where I have more of a texture that kind of looks like fur. Or you could use that if you're painting some wood. So practice it a little bit before you start. Now I'm going to start with my landscape on top. And I'm going to use blue on the top and then some green down lower for a field. Just checking my color. And I'll start at the very top and going over and leaving some dry brush behind. And the idea here is that I'm making clouds by having the paper show through. And next, I will paint a field down lower. And I'm going to use the dry brush again. I'm going to put 3 colors in because you need to have 3 colors in yours. Leaving a little bit of paper showing through. But what I'll mainly do is go in after it's dry and add more dry brush over the top of the field. You can also choose to do an abstract. You can do whatever you'd like as long as you're showing me dry brush and you are getting at least 3 colors in there. So here I'm just making an abstract design, kind of playing around with how much to layer the paint, how much paint to have on my brush, putting some new colors in. I'll have some areas that are more saturated and some that are pretty grainy looking. It's always a nice idea to leave a little white behind too, to make it feel fresher. And then I'll just add some lines to add to my abstract to make it more interesting. So I'm going to go back up to my field. It's pretty dry, probably could be a little drier, but I'm going to go ahead anyway and put another layer over the top of the field. So I've gotten the excess off of my brush, just adding some nice texture there, the dry brush, and then finally put in some trees. You can make any kind of landscape you'd like, or maybe you'll even think of something else that you want to do for yours. And you'll do this in the first box.